Hey there, my name's Jay and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am on a journey of self-exploration, I guess, trying to live my best life. And the way that I'm doing that is by daily study to make myself the best I can be. And the thing I've been studying this week as part of the program I'm a part of with Proctor, which is really good fun, is on how to kind of control who you are and what you want. And the article that I've come across this week that I want to share with you is called The 333 Story. And the copy that I've got goes like this. Bob Proctor was conducting a seminar which ran from Thursday night to Sunday at the Deerhurst Lodge, which is a resort approximately 100 miles north of Toronto in Canada. On the Friday night, a tornado swept through Barrie, Ontario, a town about 40 miles south of Deerhurst. The tornado killed a dozen people and did millions of dollars worth of damage. On the Sunday night, as he was coming home, Bob stopped the car when he got to Barrie. He got out on the side of the highway and looked around. It was a mess, as it would be with a tornado. Everywhere he looked, there were smashed houses and cars turned upside down. That same night, another gentleman, Bob Templeton, was driving down the same highway. Templeton and Bob had never met. However, an idea from Bob's seminar was about to bring them together in a lasting friendship. Templeton stopped to look at the disaster, just as Bob Proctor had, only his thoughts were different than Bob's. Templeton was the vice president of Telemedia Communications, a company which owns a string of radio stations in Ontario and Quebec at that time. As he stood there viewing the disaster, he thought there must be something he could do for these people using the radio stations that he had. The thought kept returning to his mind that night and all of the next day. The following night, Bob Proctor was doing another seminar in Toronto. Templeton and Bob Johnson, another vice president from Telemedia, came in and stood at the back of the room. They were evaluating the seminar, trying to decide if Proctor could help their company reach its goals, which he ultimately did. From Templeton's influence, Bob subsequently worked for the entire Canadian broadcasting industry. Templeton loved what Bob was doing in his seminars because it was in harmony with his way of thinking. Templeton became fascinated with the laws of the universe. Where's it gone? Lost my place, very sorry. Laws of the universe, particularly the law of polarity, or as it is referred to, the law of opposites. This law clearly states that everything has an opposite. You cannot have an up without a down, hot without cold, or in without out. By the same token, you can't figure out why something you want to do cannot be done. Or if you can figure out why something you want to do cannot be done by law, you must be able to figure out how it can be done. People who accomplish great things are aware of the negative. However, they give all of their mental attention and their energy to the positive. After the seminar, Templeton went back to his office. He told Proctor it was late, but this one idea he picked up had him excited. It also had him committed to the idea of raising millions of dollars and giving it to the people who'd been caught in the tornado. Templeton was going to raise the money immediately. Furthermore, he was not remotely interested in why he couldn't. The following Friday, he called all of his executives at Telemedia into his office. At the top of a flip chart in bold letters, he wrote 3 threes. He said to his executives, "How would you like to raise $3 million 3 days from now in just 3 hours and give the money to the people in Barrie?" There was nothing but silence in the room. Finally, someone said, "Templeton, you're crazy. There is absolutely no way we could raise $3 million in 3 hours 3 days from now." Templeton said, "Wait a minute. I didn't ask you if we could, or even if we should. I just asked you if you would like to." Templeton was wise. He was appealing to the charitable side of their nature. It was important for those present to openly admit that this was something they wanted to do. Templeton knew that his new idea could show anyone how to accomplish anything they wanted by working with the law. They all said, "Sure, we'd like to." He then drew a large T under the 333. On one side he wrote, "Why we can't." On the other side he wrote, "How we can." Templeton drew a big, large X. As he placed the X on the flip chart, he said, So Templeton drew a large X under the words, "Why we can't." And as he placed the X on the flip chart, he said, "Now there is no place to record the ideas we think of which explain why we can't raise $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from now, regardless of how valid they might be." He continued by explaining, "When anyone calls out an idea which suggests why we can't, everyone else must yell out as loud as they can, 'Next!' That will be our command to go to the next idea. Ideas are like the cars on a train. One always follows the other. We will keep saying next until a positive idea arises." Templeton smiled and continued to explain that, opposite the X on the other side of the flip chart, directly under the words "how we can," I will write down every idea that we can come up with on how we can raise $3 million in 3 hours in 3 days' time. He also suggested in a very serious tone of voice that everyone remain in the room until they figured it out. We are not only going to think of how we can raise $3 million immediately, after we originate the ideas, we are going to execute them. There was silence again. Finally, someone said, "We could do a radio show across Canada." Templeton said, "That's a great idea," and wrote it down underneath "how we can." Before he had written it on the right-hand side of the flip chart, someone said, "You can't do a radio show across Canada. We don't have radio stations across Canada." Since Telemedia only had stations in Ontario and Quebec, you must admit that was a pretty valid objection. However, someone in the back of the room in a rather soft tone said, "Next." Templeton replied, "Doing a radio show is how we can. That idea stays." But this truly did sound like a ridiculous idea because radio stations are very competitive. They usually don't work together, and to get them to do so would be virtually impossible according to the standard way of thinking. All of a sudden, someone suggested, "You could get Harvey Kirk and Lloyd Robertson, the biggest names in Canadian broadcasting, to anchor the show." These gentlemen were anchors of national stature in the Canadian television industry. Someone clearly spoke out, saying, "They're not going to go on radio." But at that point, the group yelled, "Next!" Templeton said that was when the energy shifted. Everyone got involved, and it was absolutely amazing how fast and furious the creative ideas began to flow. That was on a Friday. The following Tuesday, they had a radiothon where 50 radio stations from all across the country agreed to work in harmony for such a good cause. They felt it didn't matter who got the credit as long as the people in Barrie got the money. Harvey Kirk and Lloyd Robertson anchored the show, and they succeeded in raising $3 million in 3 hours within 3 business days. You see, you can have whatever you want. All things are possible when you put your focus on how you can, and next, every idea telling you why you can't. This may be a difficult exercise in the beginning. However, when you persist, nexting any and all negative concepts, the flow of positive ideas will roar into your marvellous mind. Alfred Adler, the renowned psychologist, coined the extraordinary phrase, "I am grateful to the idea that has used me." There can be no doubt that creative, forward-thinking ideas literally breathe new life into every fibre of your being. They awaken a part of you that you never even knew was sleeping. Templeton never received 5 cents for the leadership role he played in marshalling 50 radio stations from right across Canada to raise the $3 million for the people of Barrie, Ontario in Canada. However, you must remember that this is truly an orderly universe. When you put good out, it must come back. Bob shared this story with 2 good friends of his, Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. They were so intrigued by the story they published it in their book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. A while back, Bob was doing a satellite television broadcast for Remax Real Estate with Mark Victor Hansen, and he was telling Bob that at last count, they had sold 6 million copies of their book. He also told them that they are constantly receiving letters from people who read the 333 story and use it to perform similar mental magic in their lives. Think of it. Millions upon millions of people are making positive things happen in their lives because Templeton would not listen to the reasons why he and his staff could not raise $3 million in 3 days, in the 3 hours. Just 3 days after they began to brainstorm the idea. By the way, Templeton has told Bob that he and his staff have formed the habit of 333ing their wants. As a result, he has gone on to become the president of New Cap Broadcasting Company, a highly profitable corporation with stations right across Canada. It is Bob's opinion that Templeton set up a force for good that will follow him wherever he goes. Profit has become his second name. Begin at once to 333 all of your wants, and profit will follow you as well. So is there something that you really, really want, but you're stopping yourself by thinking how you can't? Why don't you try the 333 idea? Get a whiteboard or a piece of paper, blackboard, blank space on a wall maybe. Draw a line down the middle and a T across the top. One side why you can, one side why you can't. Put a big fat X under why you can't, and next any ideas of why you can't. Write down why you can, and then see what ideas come up. You will find the way. If you would like any help on it, please feel free to contact me using any of the contact details found in the comments section below. Subscribe to my channel, please. Drop me a like if this resonated with you, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.